If they were willing to trade Devin Booker to Houston and get their picks back, that's a pathway to having a pathway back to something sustainable.
Joining us now, of course, is DLLS's Marc Stein. How you doing, Marc?
Guys, I'm good.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Obviously, Suns officially out of the play-in, have been since Wednesday. We've been reporting here in the Valley that pretty much everything could be on the table outside of Devin Booker if the Suns miss the play-in. That's come to fruition, and the big name that everyone's going to be looking at, which you and the People's Insider Jake Fisher touched on your newsletter today, is Mike Budenholzer. What are your thoughts on what his future might look like here in Phoenix?
Yeah, look, I mean, we don't have definitive clarity before Game 82, but when you talk to people around the league in coaching circles, I mean, a lot of people around the league are looking at Phoenix as, you know, the question is, are we going to see a repeat of what we just saw in Denver? Could we see both a coaching change and a front office change? Again, I can't definitively tell you that's going to happen, but it's what a lot of people around the league are wondering. I would go so far as to say it's what a lot of people around the league are anticipating. You know, before Chauncey Billups got his extension done with Portland today, there was a lot of chatter that Chauncey Billups could emerge as a potential coach in Phoenix. And when Phoenix doesn't even have a vacancy, that's, you know, obviously delicate stuff to talk about. And look, I'm a Mike Budenholzer fan. I've known him a long time. I've known him since he was in the video room in San Antonio. So I've covered Mike for a long time. But I think you guys know this better than me. You live this every day. Change is what you expect with the Phoenix Suns. I mean, since Matt Ishbia took over, they fired Monty Williams with 3 years left on his deal. They dismissed Frank Vogel with 4 years left on his deal. And if there's a coaching change again, it would be with 4 years on Mike Budenholzer's deal. And we've never seen anything like that in terms of coaching firings with that many years on contracts. It is one of the many staggering things about this season in the desert.
Well, not just change in the front office is expected, but also change on the roster as well. Two big names in two very different situations in their careers, Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. What do you think the summer holds for those two?
No question around the league, everybody's anticipating Kevin Durant to be available. Now, this time, the working assumption is that the Suns would work with Kevin Durant to try to figure that out and not just unilaterally trade him. Like, you know, they were in very serious talks with Golden State, as you guys know, on a trade that Kevin Durant didn't want, and they ultimately didn't do it. The Bradley Beal situation is fascinating in its own right because, again, the expectation in 29 other front offices is that Phoenix will do everything it can to move him. I know Gambo said this week on Phoenix radio, there's a 0% chance that Bradley Beal is a Sun next season. And obviously he knows the Suns as well as anyone, but how has that come to pass? Bradley Beal still has one of two full no trade clauses in the league. Only LeBron James and Bradley Beal have them in their deals as we stand. So the Suns cannot trade him without his consent, and buying him out is complicated on way too many levels for me to try to break down with you guys in 5 minutes. My good buddy Keith Smith, one of the best capologists on NBA Twitter, he did a great piece on Spot Track. I urge Suns fans to check that out because he breaks it down to every last option. But I mean, buying out or waiving Bradley Beal, whatever you want, I mean, that is a really difficult move to make when Beal's got $111 million left on his contract after this season. So I'm right there with you guys. I cannot wait to see how this plays out. You know, Bradley Beal said Friday night he wants to stay. He hopes he's back, but he knows that Matt Ishbia is going to want change. And so this is going to be all weekend long. People around the league have been saying how busy it's going to be league wide, but I do think the Suns are going to be at the heart of it, to be honest. And that's why I wanted to come on today with you guys. I want to check on you guys because this is crazy in the All City family. You got PHNX, you got PHLY, you got DLLS, and every one of those shows thinks that their team has had the most disastrous NBA season in history. Who wins that? Who wins that battle royale?
I'm still going to go with Dallas because of the Luka Doncic trade, but it is closer than I think a lot of us here in Phoenix would like to admit.
Can we all just be counted out? We're just all down for 10 seconds. We all lose at the same time.
Well, first of all, I totally respect that answer. That was very what's the word I'm looking for? You took a very broad perspective there. That was good. I mean, the joke I've been saying is that I wish we were like, I don't know how old you guys are. I don't know if you'll get a Captain Kirk reference from Star Trek, but like I've been saying all year, we need ship to ship communication abilities on these shows. We need to be like PHNX needs to be able to say, okay, we are put DLLS on screen so we can have like an inner network debate on who's more miserable.
Mark, you kind of mentioned potential expectations of what happened with Denver to potentially take place here in Phoenix as well. Regarding the front office, are there any names that maybe stand out to you and prospect that the Suns could potentially look to bring into their house to kind of change the direction that things are headed?
That chatter really hasn't started yet because again, like I don't even like talking about it for either coach or GM when they're there, and we haven't seen change yet, but inevitably around the league, this is what people are discussing. So I don't think it will take long if there is some kind of change for that chatter to start, but it hasn't happened yet beyond the obvious, which is we know Matt Ishbia likes to swing for the fences and go for big names. And, if that's the decisions that he takes, I'm sure he will be ambitious in the extreme, but you would also say, who's lining up to take this thing right now? I mean, as I'm sure you guys have pointed out, and I've said it, you've said it, and none of us are alone. 26 out of 29 teams are not trading places with Phoenix right now in terms of roster, draft picks, etc. So they've mortgaged so much of the future to put this team together. Like it's not an obvious, let's try A, B, C, and D and see where we are. I mean, it's just, if they do try to trade Durant, how much can they realistically get for him? I think that will inform a lot on what kind of rebound the Suns can make.
Well, last one from me, Mark. I know that about NBA chatter and stuff, it hasn't started yet, but for you personally, do you feel like this is something that the Suns can at least overcome and become competitive after in the next couple of seasons? Obviously, maybe not next year.
I got to be honest. It's hard for me to see, not fast track. Fast track is the wrong word, but like, look, if they were willing to trade Devin Booker to Houston and get their picks back, that's a pathway to having a pathway back to something sustainable. But we know Book doesn't want to leave Phoenix. We know the Suns don't want to trade Book. So if those two variables hold, I mean, that's the toughest thing is today. There's only one team on the NBA map that doesn't have a playoff berth, doesn't have a play-in shot, and doesn't have a ticket to the draft lottery, and that's the Suns. And that's, I'm not saying it to rub it in. I mean, it is, you guys know this better than me. You live it every day in every show. It's just fact. And so I am in the camp that believes that trading Book is probably the only way to get in a quote decent position again, and we know they don't want to do it. So we're just gonna have to wait and see how it plays out. You guys tell me, well, if I put the magic wand in your hand, what do you do?
Pray.
No, not
lots
pray.
and lots of prayer.
I personally think the best option, because of the constraints, try to mend the relationship with KD that you messed up at the trade deadline. Mm-hmm. See what you can get for Bradley Beal from the destinations that obviously he chooses. And then from that point on, it's a dice roll. Hopefully you duck the second tax apron and you can kind of maneuver those waters the best of your abilities. But there's, to your point, no guaranteed route to success because of the complications of each specific option that you have to choose from the top going down.
I think the one thing we don't know yet is who's going to get desperate who's going to flame out in these playoffs? Do we see OKC, Houston, New York just have a terrible playoff showing, and then they look at Kevin Durant and are willing to pay up a little bit more than maybe people expect and go from there? But there is no clear path forward, Gerald.
Yeah, the market is going to be suppressed until a team like that emerges. So I think if I'm in charge, it's tough because if you think about ownership and how quickly the fan base has turned on the ownership and the front office here, it would be hard for them to trade Devin Booker, because you would kind of burn that last bridge you had with the fan base, even if it is your potentially best viable path forward to restoring some of your own assets. But Mark, is there anything else about the state of the Suns that you feel you need to get off your chest while you're here?
Yeah, just tacking on to that point, because I think what you guys said there is important, because there's always been this chatter that Houston would be interested in Durant, but all season long, in my reporting, what I've been consistently told is when the Rockets make their next big move, they want to do it with someone who's on the age timeline as the core players there. And so that has always suggested that they won't be interested in trading for Kevin Durant. But like Gerald just said, what if the Rockets have a really rough playoff run? What if they just get blown out in round one, upset as a number 2 seed, and they have problems scoring, which a lot of people anticipate? Will that in any way change Houston's appetite and change Houston's thinking? Because obviously I think the dream scenario for the Suns would be that the Rockets say, okay, we'll give you back one of these picks for Durant. He's not really on our timeline, but we'll give you some of your draft control back, a measure of your draft control back. But again, that is, that's an unknown. And to this, all season long, the messaging out of Houston has been, if you want to talk Devin Booker, we'll listen, but we're not entertaining this for players who aren't on a similar age timeline as all the young and their group is, even Book is older than all the players there. Their group is really young. I forgot the number off the top of my head, but I think they have like 7 former first rounders under the age of 23 or something like that. Just a really young core. So, but I think you guys are right. The playoffs will tell us a lot. What happens with the Rockets? What happens with the Knicks? Does anyone else really meet with disappointment that makes them say, you know what? Let's go get Kevin Durant. Let's try.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to chatting with you in the offseason. Of course, if you're missing the Marc Stein in your life, well, go check out DLLS. And of course, you can check out his Substack as well. You can find all of that on socials at The Stein Line. Thank you so much for taking time out of your Sunday to join the miserable PHNX crew over here.
Hang in there, guys. I am thinking about you. Hang in there.